Hi yogis. This short practice is an all levels practice, and it's aimed particularly at those who wish to deepen their practice. What does that mean? It means that we take more of ourselves into the postures as we learn more of the details of a particular posture, or asana as they're called in Sanskrit. Really, an advanced practice, as we know, really is a practice that works on the heart, on the feelings, on the inner self. B.K.S. Iyengar said, there are 3 layers of this quest that we have for freedom. There's the outer layer, which is working with the body. There's the inner layer, which is working with the breath, a practice we know as pranayama. And then there's the innermost layer, the quest for the innermost self, or he calls spirit. So the beauty of yoga is such that all 3 layers are always being touched by yoga, but we might not be as conscious of those 3 layers when we're beginning our practice. And it might sound like the innermost layer is beyond us. It's not. This practice, a short practice, is just a taste of the early morning classes at our studio that we've begun 1 week already. Our first step is to take a pose called Baddha Konasana. I'm taking my blanket and 2 wooden bricks and making a little sandwich of my bricks and my blanket, because I want enough support for sitting that the legs will relax. In Baddha Konasana, sitting in this posture, I'm also going to roll my mat up a little in front of me, so that as I sit in Baddha Konasana, my heels are slightly higher than the toes. You see, the heels are on the rolled up mat, the toes are on the floor. This pose is something that we do at the very beginning of yoga. So what's advanced about this today? 2 things about the feet. Press the little toe side of the foot. That's the touch, the part of the foot touching the floor. Press it down and ease that skin forward. As you do that, you'll feel a resonance in the legs and in the hip sockets. Feet are pressing down, little toe side is easing forward, thighs are releasing. Just a point about the position of the legs relative to the hip crests. Here are the hip crests, left side, right side. My thighs are slightly below. That's an optimum place for working in this pose. If it should happen your knees are higher, then just get a little more support on you. Another blanket or some such, whatever you have. Press the little toe side of the feet down, press the arms down behind you, and release the legs. The very center of the bottom of the pelvis is called the perineum. And the perineum is that place between the openings for the anus and for the genitals. Men and women. There's a little place between those 2 openings in the body. And the perineum now lifts up and into the body. For women who've had childbearing experience, maybe you've heard of Kegel Exercises where the muscles of the birth canal are strengthened. It's not quite the same. Although if you begin with that area, you can then extend to the perineum. Draw the very floor of the pelvis up and into the body. Even if it seems like you're not quite sure what that's all about, just send a message to the body to draw up there. And as you do, you are gathering energy into the body through the Mula Bandha, or the pelvic lock. It's used in pranayama too. Baddha Konasana. To come out of Baddha Konasana, you'll support the knees and draw the knees in and just set your mat, lengthen away from you. Coming from Baddha Konasana now, we're going to take Supta Padangustasana. So I bring my bricks, one on the right side, one on the left side. I take the blanket just for a little bit of support for the head and neck and bring the legs to vertical. Now, if you view this posture from the side, you begin to see the mechanics of the legs. Top of the buttock away, spine stretching to the blanket. I'm going to start with left leg up. And I'm taking the belt across the heel, not across the arches. So here's a little bit of newness, possibly, for some of us. Holding the belt, I seesaw it right out to the heel and stretch the leg to vertical. Why the heel? Because it fixes the thigh bone in the center of the hip socket. As the belt is pressed against the heel, I lift the heel into the belt, not hammering down into the leg, but lifting up. And this fixes the thigh bone in the socket. Then I draw the leg towards me, whatever I can do this morning, and stretch the right leg away, dig that right heel down, and bring the belt in, bring the leg in towards me. For the second aspect of Supta Padangustasana, I've got my brick and I'm wedging it against the outer thigh bone. I'm taking the belt in the same side hand and extending the opposite hand away. I circle that leg to the side, and as I feel the brick at the hip, I'm drawing in there. Outer hip is coming into the body, leg is going to the left. I started on the left. I've got the secondary brick, and I'm just setting it on the pubic bone because it's giving me information. If I'm tilting the brick to the left, I've taken the leg too far. I'm simply tipping the body. So my action here inside the body, the inner quest, is to take the abdomen to the right and to breathe into the right side. Abdomen to the right, breath to the right, leg to the left. Balance across the pubic bone, balance across the sacrum. Coming out of the pose, I set this brick to the side, inhale the leg up, bend both knees, set both feet down, and take the brick outside of the right hip, where it will be ready for me. The first actions here are belt to the heel. Belt to the heel, arms long, shoulders on the mat. Lift the belt, tip the heel up, and fix that thigh bone in the center of the socket. Lengthen the left leg away. Skid out through the heel, turn that left thigh in, press the heel down. Loosen the groins, invite the leg toward you. As the leg comes toward you, hold the belt in the same side hand, extend the opposite arm. Lift the leg toward you, up and over that brick and to the left. Set the second brick across the pubic bone. Balance that brick as the right leg goes right. As the leg goes right, deep inside the abdominals go left. The breath comes into the left side of the rib cage. The leg stretches away, turning the thigh from inside to outside. I look to see, is the foot level to the floor? Or is it tilting heel up, toes down? Because we can turn this leg out too much and turn those toes down. We resist that and turn the leg out, yes, but keep the foot level to the floor. Inhale the leg up, set the brick to the side, bend both knees. Take both bricks away now. Support the head, turn, and come up from that position. Taking Baddha Konasana now, I keep my bricks, I set my belt to the side, and sit at the front of the mat. We've been playing with the slippery cork floor in some of the classes this week now that we're back in the studio. It's kind of fun. We can slide one leg out and back, like that, just letting the leg go, letting the hip socket find its fullest range of motion. And then we go on the second side, and you see we can compare the freedom in the hips, right side, left side. And then both legs apart, and I come forward, stretching the inner thighs a little more. I've got my wooden bricks at the ready. Here, we have to attend to the actions of the feet and the legs. We have to take both the inner and outer knees and stretch them down to the floor evenly so we come on the center of the heel and the toes are pointing upward. We've got the hands behind us and we're lifting the chest. The position of the pelvis is such that the pubic bone must lift evenly with the sacrum. My hands are like bookends here on my body. My pubic bone at the front, sacrum at the back, and we want them equidistant from the floor. The tendency is this. You see how the pubic bone drops, the sacrum lifts, and the whole pelvic structure is as angled forward. We want to avoid that. We want to balance there. Then, as the hands come to the bricks, now we're engaging the actions of the shoulder blades in the upper body. The shoulder blades now have to press the back ribs so that the chest begins to broaden. The collarbones begin to broaden. The backs of the legs are pressing into the floor, and there's no little windows between the floor and the back leg. What I mean is, if I slack the legs, there's a little window here, there's a little window there, there's a big window there, and I want to close those windows by pressing the thighs down, the shins down, the Achilles down, but also by lengthening out. In that fashion, I begin to bring a little more integrity to the action of the legs. Taking this pose to the next stage, I set my bricks to the side and walking the fingertips forward, keeping the pubic bone lifted, I begin to bring the trunk forward. It could be the case that when you expand the arms to catch the big toes, you can fold the elbows back. You have to press the back of the legs down. You have to get the pelvis vertically balanced, and then bending the elbows back, you can lengthen the front body forward and turn the head to look down. If you wanted to take this posture into a resting position, you could make some form of support so that as the head came forward, the brow could rest in line with the back of with the spine rather than dropping the head. It gives you the opportunity to stay in the posture and to allow the legs to uncoil and to find their supple length. Inhaling, coming up, fingertips to support the lift, reach inside the knees and draw the legs together. Upavishta Konasana, Baddha Konasana, work on the hip sockets, the feet, the legs, the very foundations of the lower body. Taking now Upavishta Konasana and bringing it to Baddha Konasana, coming forward. So we had our Baddha Konasana looking at the beginning of the class. We had our little brick support, or maybe you fashioned some other form of support for sitting in Baddha Konasana. We rolled up the end of our mat and brought it toward us. So heels were lifted, toes were on the floor. And you might think, why should we do that pose again? We just did that pose. Because the repetition of postures and the sequence in which we do them brings freedom to the body. I interlace the fingers under the little toe side of the feet, and as I pull with the arms, the legs release more and more toward the floor. I'm bringing the chest over the groins. These are the groins, the crease at the top of the leg. I'm bringing the chest forward of the groins, As the thighs release, I bend the elbows and pull the chest up between the arms and ease the upper body forward until I find the range of motion I can access today. Here, as the chest comes forward, I can use the elbows to press the shins and squeeze the side waist further forward. Once more, if you wish to take a little bit of support here, you could take a secondary form of support and rest it under your forehead. I'm sitting on the brick, so I can't do that at the moment, but you might have a little bench or coffee table that you could stretch the brow forward and rest the brow. Coming forward gives us a further deeper stretch into the inner thighs. When we come up, we support the knees and bring them in and stretch the heels away. And maybe roll our mat out so that we can work with a full-length mat. Come on, mat. Let's get you fully out. And then we'll take Adho Mukha Svanasana. In the studio lately, the last week, we've been working with the hands in Adho Mukha Svanasana, the arm bones in Adho Mukha Svanasana, and I'd like you to take a close look now. I'm using the bricks. The classical position of the hands in Adho Mukha Svanasana, down dog, is to have the index fingers parallel to each other. I'm moving them bricks apart, so I have them shoulder width apart. Just come to all fours now and spread your fingers, spread your palms, and reach back with the knees away from the bricks. Move your knees back and stretch your heels back towards your sits bones. And then come to all fours. Coil the toes forward. Lift the knees just a little, and push with the arms. See how the chest moves toward the legs? Keep the chest moving to the legs, and then stretch the heels back and down. If the heels come to the floor, lift the toes and stretch the front of the leg. And then knees down. Now, turn the bricks so that they're lengthening away from each other. And set the hands to point away from each other, like this. Can you get the thumb mounds down as well as the index finger mounds down? And then reach back with the sits bones to heels, get your measurement. Slightly loosen the elbows, but stack the arm bones one upon the other. And then coil the toes forward, lift the knees just a little, push, back, chest to legs, heels back and down. Roll onto the thumb mounds to stretch through the wrists and pull up through the inner arm. Hold what you can, maybe 5 or 6 breaths at a time. And when you have to come out, let the knees come to the floor. Just take a little pause as you turn the hands to point inward. Each of these actions, although we're looking at the hands and focusing on the hands and wrists, they do, obviously, are important in the posture. But really, also what we're doing is turning the arm bones, the upper arm bones, the humerus, in the shoulder joints to get that range of motion. Tuck the toes, lift the knees, push back, and hold. When you need to come out, knees come down. The final action of the arm bones is to turn the hands back. I'm taking the bricks away. I'm turning the hands back toward me as best I can. The heels of the hands are facing forward. And I could come up to downward dog. It would be a strange little posture, but it's the beginning of this action of the hands and wrists. I curl the toes, lift the heels, and get a little push out, just to take some weight to the posture. And anchor the thumb mounds, anchor the index finger mounds, and stretch back. Coming out, and take the knees down, and then join the backs of the hands and shake the fingers out. This will help you release the wrists. In Adho Mukha Svanasana, there are many things happening. The hands are anchoring us. The feet are anchoring us. And there's a single line viewed from the side, from the outer arm, outer shoulder, outer rib cage, outer hip. This is the classical pose. I press back, I lengthen away. As I lengthen away, this line, outer arm, outer shoulder, outer rib cage, outer hip. That line is a single long 180 degrees from little finger to outer hip to the wall, stretching back. In your downward facing dog, are you beginning to build stamina? Are you counting the breaths that you take in the posture? Because it's the gateway to the inverted postures of headstand, for example, arm balance, peacock pose. The capacity to hold the posture with the limbs is the precursor to the next steps. From downward facing dog, we're going to take Untitled Konasana, and we're taking a brick and placing it at the wall, like this. We've used this technique at beginner classes and gentle classes as well in order to free the feet and the legs. But we're going to take this a little more deeply for the more advanced student, let's say, or the student who's interested in building on the foundations of this work. As I step up into this posture, I've got the toes lengthening up the wall. The heel is on the brick. It's also very good for your knee, for example, to use the brick in this way. And then we pop back like this, heel to arch. With my hands in the groins, I start to move sideways toward the wall. Here, the tailbone is hooking into the body. The bottom of the breastbone is reaching for the navel, so the trunk is in alignment. And I reach back with the left hand. I've got the outer right hip. I'm drawing it back. This action of the left arm is opening the left side of the chest. I'm lengthening the bottom ribs toward the wall and inviting the upper ribs to drop into the body. The action here is tailbone into the body, chest lengthening, and now chest rolling from right to left, away from the floor. And finally, in the front body, the abdomen. The abdominal muscles above the pubic bone, here, gather toward the navel. The upper abdominals gather toward the navel, and there's a broadening across the abdominal region, a widening. And then those muscles scoop back toward the spine, and the chest is lifted, and it's free to turn. And maybe you can add the upper arm and lift the upper arm to spread across the chest. Look forward to come up, release the arm, take the finger points to the wall, and step away and turn around. Left foot up, toes scrubbing the wall, right leg back. Hands to the hip flexors, absorb the hip flexors, tailbone into the body. Side ribs lengthening along the left thigh. Right arm up. Here, abdomen wide and into the body. Chest rolling away from the floor, glancing toward the lifted arms. Untitled Konasana. The triangle. To come up. Inhale. Hand to the wall. Heel and toe in a little. Step down and remove the brick. What is it that we could learn about Untitled Konasana that would stabilize our posture? It's the action of the abdominals. For example,
Just standing in Tadasana, with your fingers just above the pubic bone, and one little finger at your navel. Guide these lower abs upward toward the navel, and then broaden and soften. It's not easy. To soften the abdominal area, not an easy action, but you can do it. Let it be wide and soft, like a big smile, and then guide it into the body. And as you do that, viewing my body from the side, you can see the pelvis is dropping forward. The abdomen is falling out of the body. But if I relax this abdomen wide and draw it into the body, you can see that the front of the pelvis lifts, the back of the pelvis descends, the tailbone scoops in, and there's more verticality to the pelvis, to the legs, to the upper body. This is the action you were taking into Utthita Trikonasana. So you can go back into the pose and explore that at your own time. What do the abdominals give us? By penetrating toward that inner body, you get a deeper understanding of the posture. We're going to conclude this little taste of the early morning class now with Viparita Karani. That's the legs up the wall position. And I suggest a soft blanket for the back of the head, the neck, removing your specs, sitting sidewise to the wall, and taking legs up the wall, working the back of the pelvis to the wall. The legs join initially, and then the feet relax, the legs relax. You can see how the feet drop away, the knees bend, the ankles release, the arms expand. Because we took time with the feet and legs, we're taking Viparita Karani into Shavasana, so the feet and legs can relax. With the lips just lightly touching, let the breaths come softly and smoothly through the nostrils. Relax the facial muscles and just stay with the breath. 7 or 8 soft, gentle inhalations, exhalations. We'll soothe the nervous system, relax the efforts of the legs and pelvis, and bring you to a state of balance. When that happens, you just let the legs fold, and give the knees a little hug, and maybe a little rock and roll side to side. And then one hand to the skull, knees to the side, and coming out of that position. You've had some instruction on the deeper aspects or details of poses that you've been practicing for some time now. And so you can take those details or points and incorporate them into your postures, because you'll be bringing more of yourself into your awareness. And with that, the outer quest that BKS Iyengar identifies, the work with the outer body, becomes more refined. The body itself builds in intelligence of action, and the inner quest to the breath and to the inner body is advanced, and the innermost quest is always available to us. BKS Iyengar would say, clean the house, open the windows and the doors, let the fresh air come in, and with it will come the light of yoga, the light, the inspiration, those spontaneous discoveries that come with a quiet mind and a body that's released tensions and stresses.
To complete our postures, we always come to this moment of offering from the heart any benefits that the practice may have created. When I bow, I'm bowing to you and to the teachers who have given me these practices and trusted us to pass them along.